They called him just a beginner. Everyone in the gym turned their heads at the sound of metal plates crashing. But they weren't looking at the weights. They were looking at him, the quiet, black guy who had just walked in wearing an old hoodie, worn-out sneakers, and carrying a cheap water bottle. Whispers filled the room instantly. New guy, probably a beginner. He's in the wrong section. But they didn't know something. This was the last day anyone would ever underestimate him. Marcus didn't respond to the whispers. He heard them all, but he kept walking straight toward the free weight platform. This gym was famous. Influencers trained here. Pro athletes flexed here, and ego lifters lived on every bench. To them, he looked like someone who didn't belong. The head trainer, Blake, smirked as he walked over. Blake was huge, shredded, tattooed, and loud enough to make the whole room stare. "Hey, buddy," he said, clapping Marcus on the shoulder. "Beginner area is over there. Light dumbbells, resistance bands, stuff you can handle." Marcus looked at the trainer calmly. "I'm good here." The trainer's smile faded. "Oh, confident beginner. That's cute," Blake said louder so the gym crowd could hear. Several people laughed. But Marcus didn't. He simply tightened the straps on his wrist and placed his bag on the floor. Blake crossed his arms. "All right then, show us. Prove you can even warm up here." A group gathered around, recording, whispering, laughing. Marcus finally spoke. "Fine, but once I start, don't stop me." Something in his voice made a few people pause. Not fear, not anger, just quiet certainty. The kind you only hear from someone hiding a storm. He loaded the bar. The entire platform fell silent. Blake snorted. "That's your first set? You're gonna regret this, beginner." But Marcus didn't blink. He grabbed the bar, inhaled deeply. And what happened next made everyone take a step back. The plates clanged, the bar bent, and Marcus moved with a power nobody expected. People froze. Whispers died. The trainers stopped training. Even Blake's confident smile vanished. Because they were watching something impossible. Something they hadn't seen before. Something that made the entire gym realize, maybe, Marcus was no beginner at all. The gym was dead silent. Marcus stood over the barbell after finishing his first set. A set so clean, so powerful, so controlled. The crowd didn't even breathe until he walked away from the rack. Blake, the head trainer, forced a laugh to hide the fear in his eyes. "All right, beginner. Nice warm-up. Let's see if you can do it again." Marcus didn't look at him. He just tightened his belt and prepared for his second set. More people gathered. Phones came out. Half the gym whispered, "Who is this guy? No beginner lifts like that. He's hiding something." Marcus gripped the bar. His muscles tightened. And then he exploded up with a force that shook the entire platform. The crowd gasped. Plates rattled. Even the mirrors trembled slightly. But right then, something unexpected happened. A deep voice cut through the silence. "Stand down, Sergeant Marcus Hale." Everyone froze. A man in military cargo pants walked in. Tall, calm, eyes sharp. People instantly recognized the uniform patch on his sleeve. The gym fell into confusion. Blake stuttered, "Sergeant? As in military?" The man stepped closer. "He's not just military." He looked at Marcus with respect. "He's one of the top strength specialists in our elite training program. The man who teaches soldiers how to survive. The guy who trains people to lift tanks off trapped teammates." A wave of shock ripped through the room. This was the reveal. The quiet guy in an old hoodie wasn't a beginner. He was someone who had earned medals for doing the impossible. Marcus finally spoke. "I came here to train in peace, not to prove myself." But Blake suddenly felt very, very small. The officer continued. "He's on temporary leave. He picked this gym because he thought it was a place of discipline and respect. Clearly, he was wrong." Blake's face turned pale. One of the members whispered loudly, "He mocked a military specialist? He tried to send him to the beginner area?" People started backing away from Marcus, not in fear, but in deep respect. Marcus walked toward Blake slowly. "You judged me the moment I entered," he said quietly. "And today, you learned why that was a mistake." Blake swallowed hard. I didn't know." Marcus stared him in the eyes. That's the problem. You never even tried. He picked up his old water bottle, slung his bag over his shoulder, and started walking out. The officer stepped aside respectfully. Right before leaving, Marcus turned to the crowd. Strength is not what you show off. It's what you build when no one is watching. And with that, he walked out of the gym, leaving behind silence, shame, and a lesson none of them would ever forget.